want to thank you guys so much for coming back and for supporting us thus far. This episode is a special Alabama PSA. That's right. This episode is specifically for my Alabama listeners. And today I am going to be breaking down Bill SB 66. I spoke about this bill several times in different episodes and on different interviews. And I think it's time to just let you guys hear exactly what the bill is. So I'm going to read a summary and then I'm going to double back and give you the bill read in its entirety. And that is because as this is a call to action podcast, meaning I am asking the public to do something in regards to our topic, which is cannabis legalization, and to destroy the negative stereotypes. This is also an educational and a podcast where we want to bring awareness to things that we feel like the public may have access to, but may not be educated on exactly where to find that information. Now, in a world where we have access to most things, this bill passed unanimously and very, very, very quickly. And I think that's because the public just did not know where to find the information on the bill and exactly what was going on. It really happened in the blink of an eye. I think I first spoke about this bill a month ago. Jennifer from Mobile, Alabama, from Cannabama, and also she's on several boards for cannabis commissions, brought this to my attention, and I found this very, very necessary. So I'm gonna go ahead and summarize the bill for you guys. Okay, there's a lot going on here in this bill, but here's the summary of the Alabama Senate Bill 66. So it's going to be relating to cannabis to, forbid the sale and distribution, marketing, or possession of psychoactive cannabinoids found in hemp for certain age groups, to levy a 5% tax on the gross proceeds of products containing psychoactive cannabinoids sold at retail and in connection therewith would have as its purpose or effects the requirement of a new or increased expenditure of local funds within the meaning of Section 111.05 of the Constitution of Alabama of 2022. Now, this is what you find when you look up Senate Bill 66 in Alabama. And if you're reading this and you are not well versed on political satire or political vernacular, then the common ear might be very, very confused about what I just read, right? Using words like psychoactive cannabinoids, using words like, therewith and expenditure. I'm going to give you a layman's term of the summary, and I hope the public benefits and appreciates this. What, in layman's terms, they are saying is people under the age of 21 cannot purchase products that contain hemp and CBD. So retailers are responsible for making sure that does not happen. And that is brought in more detail within the bill. Within packaging, it must be in a child-proof packaging, must be behind the counter. There's some verbiage in the bill that says they want a curtain to separate CBD products from the other products. And let me give you a snapshot of what that looks like. So if you remember going to the movie store, again, I'm telling my age. If you remember going to the movie store, then you remember the velvet curtain. Velvet curtain meant porny room, right? Adult room. Everyone has snuck their head in between the red curtain. And if you haven't, you're lying. So what they want is essentially a red curtain, some type of partition between access to the products in which they would consider psychoactive cannabinoids. At the same time, they want those products behind the counter. Now, unless we put the sales counter behind a curtain or a partition, the verbiage is very confusing in that. So that's one con about the bill. The other part in that is keeping it in childproof packaging. Now, 99% of products are in childproof packaging. Those that are not, that are available still, are literally being phased out. I think most retailers may have a few boxes left of something that is not in a childproof package, and then they're even selling that at a discounted price to get that out. Gummies are sold in pill bottle capsules, guys. I mean, double lock Ziplocs. I mean, that's already happening. So that verbiage confuses you, because that verbiage is also used in several other bills that you have to adhere by when you're selling these. So what we're seeing is like double entendres in this bill request, because it's telling us to do certain things that have already been implemented, and then asking for a detail in which is pretty much not attainable in most stores. Because how can you put the purchase counter behind the velvet curtain and then allow purchases of things that don't require you to be 21 and over at the counter, if the counter is behind the curtain that requires you to be 21 and over? Now, I am not sure who all was a part of the writing of this bill. I am not one of those people that call names out and bash, but clearly this was just not fully thought through. What I said before is I feel like they were just trying to get anything passed. Have you ever seen someone who was getting beat up and would not stop fighting? Like, they really needed to stop fighting, but they just had to keep going because they refused to walk out with something. That's what I feel like the supporters of this bill were trying to do, because the verbiage that got this bill passed is so vague and quite frankly ridiculous. CBD and hemp products are literally sold at CVS, Walmart, Walgreens, every privately owned convenience store in every urban and rural neighborhood, hair stores. People are putting them in private sole proprietorship business products, toothpaste. So how are they going to enforce this? Who is going to go to the 10,000 privately owned convenience stores? Who is going to walk into Walmart and tell Mr. Walmart that he needs to adhere by Alabama SB 66? When they show me who has the balls to walk in there and do that, I might actually support it. The reason that point is what goes with me saying this bill is an attack on small business owners in the hemp industry, because at the rate in which they're willing to penalize, only small businesses would take that hit. Walmart can take a $5,000 hit every day and not blink. They lose millions of dollars a year in theft. So they can take $5,000 a month hits and not be hurt. But a small business owner taking a $5,000 hit because they didn't adhere to the porny velvet curtain room thing is ridiculous. That could make or break someone, and that attacks small businesses. And if it attacks small businesses, then it directly attacks the economy of our city. Which, I mean, how are we gonna stand for that? Okay, another part of that is increasing the sales tax by 5%, and they do break down in section 111.05 where some of those funds are going to go. They do say it's going to go to the Educational Trust Fund. I do not believe them, as Governor Kay Ivey did take money from that fund and built private prisons. So as far as I'm concerned, that money is going to a new private prison. I would love for them to make it make sense. Educational Trust Fund. If you look at the public school system and then you go online and look and see where the Educational Trust Fund has been getting a percentage of tax dollars, and then you see what's going on in the system, you will feel the same way that I feel. I said before on a previous recording that when I was in high school, there were so many different things that you could do. A product of several extracurricular programs and outlets that my parents and grandparents were able to put me in throughout my life. Cultural Black and White, where I was able to get introduced into jazz, ballet, tap, drama, show choir. I mean, we even did Glee, and I met some lifetime friends. Two of my closest friends are from a program I was in when I was a very small child, Culture Black and White, and we grew up with each other. When we went to performing arts schools, we had full programs that were taught by professionals, and it was mixed cultural, and we were allowed to be in so many different things. When in high school, the high school bands were huge. I mean, they would fill the football stadium, and they would wrap around the street during Mardi Gras. The football teams, I remember people actually enjoying school because we had things to do. It allowed attendance to be, high at that time, I believe, because kids had something to go to school and do outside of just sit in the classroom. We had activities that we were involved in, and the Educational Trust Fund, as of the last 15 years in Alabama, has not been doing anything for those programs. It's actually removed them. If you look at the high school band programs here in Mobile, Alabama, you can see that for itself. If you see the quality of the children's books in the public school system and try to stomach the quality of the food that the children are eating in the public school system, then you would see the effects of Governor Kay Ivey removing money from that fund and putting it towards private prisons or prisons for the state of Alabama. So if that was to be true, I would be in support of that 5%, but I don't see that being true. As I've said before, Colorado taxes cannabinoid products at 24.6%, and you can surely see exactly where that money is going because their elementary schools and pre-K programs look like college campuses. So clearly they're not taking money out of their educational fund and adding it to prison system. As a matter of fact, they're closing prisons and adding homeless shelters and rehabilitation centers. So Alabama could actually take a lesson or two. Maybe Colorado could give a TED talk on distributing cannabis taxes and the right way to increase the quality of life for the citizens of the state. Alrighty. So it also says that there's no cap on that 5%. So that means there's no base price, right? So you know how on your taxes it'll say you can pay 3% or $1,500, whichever is the least, like it can't go over $1,500. Well, if it's a cannabinoid, let me say it right, quote, psychoactive cannabinoid product, there is no cap on that 5%. So if I have $100,000 sale on all of those products, it's at 5%. If I'm $1 million, it keeps going. So the state is definitely going to eat their 5% up. So again, let's hold them accountable to that. I'm not sure if I can negate the 5% increase in Senate Bill 66, because if it indeed goes towards the Educational Trust Fund first, then I say give the Educational Trust Fund 4.7%, and the 0.3 give to those people that you pay behind closed doors. There you go. I'll be happy with that. I think that we can lobby and sign for that part. The other problem that I have that's not in this summary is the penalties to retailers if they get caught. Now, if you, Tom, are 20 years old and you get caught with a psychoactive cannabinoid product, you will not get in trouble unless it's your third offense. However, I will, as the retailer, be fined the first time. So you're gonna get a don't you do it again, I'm gonna get fined. Then the second time you're gonna get don't do it again, I'm gonna get fined. And then the third time you're gonna get a ticket, and then I'm gonna get shut down. Okay, that includes online sales. I want to pause for a moment, because if you're thinking like I'm thinking, then you're thinking, how in the hell am I supposed to know who's on the other side of that virtual transaction, and if they told the truth on the website when it clearly asks them if they are 21 or older, and it says yay or nay. If they click yes, and somehow they find out that that person's not over 21, I'm responsible as the retailer? Are you serious? Okay. I want to go this far with this summary. Now, pornographic websites require you to be 18 years old. But of course, most people have access to those websites without being 18. Now, I'm not downing that industry. You know, keep doing your thing. This has nothing to do with that. I'm using this as an analogy. Now, in the state of Alabama, is that entity that puts out pornographic material responsible for the person online not being over 18? Do they get charged with anything, or do they get fined? No, because it's not their responsibility, because there's no way to mandate and enforce that. So you mean to tell me that you are mandating and penalizing the cannabis industry harder than the pornographic industry, Alabama? For real? That's how extreme this whole situation goes when it comes to the logistics of how are they going to enforce, mandate, and make this bill suitable for the general public and for the small business retailers. Again, this does not affect big business retailers, because they're probably going to tell Alabama to kiss their ass. But the small business owners that I know personally and that I work with, they're going to be affected by this. As well as people who are going to be purchasing, because if the increase is 5% in a state that has a minimum wage of $7.25 in a city where 66% live under the poverty level, how are they going to afford the extra 5%? I'm not sure about that. That to me sounds like they are trying to socioeconomically price people out of being able to access those products, which would be medical prejudice, which would be a civil lawsuit. Hint, hint. So hopefully Alabama's not doing that. But if the 5% does have a majority of its money going to the educational trust fund, then I say, we just have to swallow the bitter taste and take the lesser of two evils and go with that. Because if it puts money into the educational system, then I'm totally fine with that. Okay, so that was my quick summary on Bill SB 66, Alabama Senate Bill 66. And now I'm going to do you the huge favor of reading this bill out to you in its entirety. So light up your blunt and let's go. Okay, guys. I told you guys that I care about you. I do. And here you go, because I'm sure you didn't read this. So under existing law, hemp and products derived from hemp may be sold at retail in Alabama. Okay. So they're reestablishing that we can sell it. Okay. This bill will prohibit the sale of distribution, marketing, or possession of psychoactive cannabinoids. Now, or anything derived or found in hemp to an individual of 21 year age or under. who is under 21, okay? This bill would also levy a 5% tax on the gross proceeds of the sale products containing psychoactive cannabinoids. Section 111.05 of the Constitution of Alabama of 2022 will prohibit a general law whose purpose or effect would be to require a new or increased expenditure of local funds from becoming effective with regard to a local governmental entity without enactment by or okay, so let's stop. Y'all hear all that shit? What they're saying is they can get any amount of money they want to, right? If there's no new legislation enacted to stop this 5% from having to put this 5% at a cap, they won't put it there. I'm trying to read this to you guys because I want to prove a point to Alabama. This makes no sense. This episode is called Make It Make Sense. I'm trying to make it make sense for my public. It's not making sense. I'm literally having to break it down for y'all, okay? So section 111.05, it states where the money is gonna go. Educational fund to cities and counties to separate on their own. Right, that's where the shit get lost. Cities and counties separating on their own, boom, lost, okay? State of Alabama driving me freaking crazy, okay? Like, seriously. So, that entity without an act, it would have to be a 2-to-1 vote, okay? 2-to-1 vote, unless it becomes within one of a number of specified exceptions. It is approved by the affected entity of the legislation appropriate funds, okay? All of that is what's called a filibuster of words to say they ain't never gonna put a cap on it. Okay, they want their money and they want it now and they want all their funds. That's what they're saying. Okay, guys, that means they gotta have a 2-to-1. If they don't have a 2-to-1, then it goes to the legislature that appropriates funds. Who is that? Nobody. Okay. I hope y'all are finding this just as like humorous as I am. Okay, the purpose effect of this bill would be to require a new or increased expenditure of local funds within the meaning of the amendment. However, the bill does not require approval of a local government entity or enactment by a 2-to-3 vote to become effective. What does that say? They want to put more money towards local funds, but the city don't gotta have a 2-to-3 vote on it. That means they can decide. Oh man, all right, we go put money over here, but we ain't gotta tell y'all where, and y'all don't have to agree. That sounds like Alabama, y'all. Oh man. All right, related to the cannabis. Related to cannabis, question mark, to prohibit the sale, distribution, marketing, possession of psychoactive cannabinoids found in hemp for certain age groups, to levy a 5% tax on the gross proceeds of the products containing psychoactive cannabinoids sold at retail and in connection therewith would have the purpose of an effect. I'm sorry, y'all. At the purpose or the effect, okay? At the purpose or the effect of a new increased expenditure. That means for whatever purpose or whatever effect, okay? I just wanted to put that back on there. Okay, this will commence October 1, 2023. There is levied in addition in all other taxes of every kind now imposed by law and shall be collected and remitted in accordance with Article 1, commencing with this section, okay, blah, 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 code. Of the gross proceeds of the sales of any products containing psychoactive cannabinoids when sold at retail in this state at the rate of 5% of the gross proceeds of the sales for purposes of this section. Psychoactive cannabinoids means psychoactive cannabinoids derived from or found in hemp. Listen, y'all, they broke down everything. So y'all hide your hemp oil, hide your hemp toothpaste, your CBD capsules. 5%. They finna add 5%. Like, what? How you gonna know? Okay. Although this bill would have as its purpose or effect the requirement of a new or increased expenditure for local funds. Yes, it will need to increase local funds, but they do not have to vote where those local funds are going to go. So that's why I say this bill just makes no sense. They're giving you a tax. They're saying this tax may go to the educational fund. It's going to go to local funds, but they don't have to tell you, and the vote doesn't have to be 2-3, and they can just decide where this money is going to go. And they want to make sure that we don't sell it to people 21 and under, and that they reiterated bills that they already have as far as the sale of this product. And then they just turned around and said, hey, since you're having such great sales, since you're doing so good in the hemp industry, we want to add verbiage in which we're going to get an extra 5%, and we're not going to tell you where that 5% is going to go. So, to all of my comrades and allies, this has been my Alabama PSA from On a High Note podcast. I felt like the public was owed this description in full detail of this bill. Please contact me at onahighnote.podcast@gmail.com if you want to continue this conversation. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, and all of our platforms. Keep this conversation going, and y'all stay blazing. Peace.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Boozer. I'm the owner and founder of Cannabama in Mobile, Alabama. We are a hemp-derived product retail store, and we have been in business since the summer of 2018. I'm also the Alabama State Chair to the National Industrial Hemp Coalition and representative for the Alabamians for Medical Cannabis Freedom. I also represent every hemp retailer, farmer, product processor, and consumer.